Hey, this is Skipen. So I've been wanting to do a stream where I have two cameras. I kind of got it set up, but as you can see, my top-down camera is just not working. But we'll see, maybe it'll catch up with me as things go along, and I just want to do some drawing, chat with people, and see what we could get done testing out different things like this. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Let me see if I could get things working a little bit better. Okay, here we go. I didn't have the right window open on OBS for Tool Sai, but now it seems like it's working. So I don't really have any plans. If anyone has anything that they're interested in seeing, feel free to let me know, and I might be able to draw it, who knows. And so right now I'm using the iPad Pro 12.9 inch 5th generation and Tool Sai. It's connected with Easy Canvas, which is one of my favorite softwares for mirroring desktop software, especially for drawing, because you see you get very nice pen pressure. Over to the iPad, it's very light and smooth and kind of no frills in a way compared to some of the other software, but it works great. And I have a few different videos on the topic if you're interested in watching. Really, I would love for this second camera to work a little bit better, but seems like that won't be happening. Really, live streaming has been one of the things on my list. Unfortunately, as time goes on and the year comes to an end, it'll probably have to be next year, but definitely high on the list for things to do next year. Get a better streaming setup, or at least get things working so I can actually do the things that I want. And I'm hoping that kind of two cameras like this, a top down and a face cam with whatever tablet I'm using to draw, would help kind of do like a live review or just talking about different products or ways to draw, do live tutorials, things like that. It would sure take a lot of the time out of these creative videos that I try to make. The production quality would be a little bit different, but it would save me a ton of time, and I think making more videos, trying to help more people, is always a better thing, especially for a channel like this. Also, this case that I'm using now, I just released a video my video review on the Logitech or Logicool Combo Touch, it's called, and it's available for different iPad Pro models as well as the iPad Air. And it's one that I've used in a few different videos. It's appeared on videos and streams, but it's a nice product. It's a nice case, one of the only ones that includes a keyboard and a hinge, like a kickstand, so it makes the iPad more like a Surface type device. And you can see the video for some more in-depth thoughts, but it's one of the, I mean, a case is always kind of going to be essential for artists, I think, because the iPad doesn't have a hinge like the Surface does, or kind of any way to prop it up, and drawing with it handheld or something like that, it's not ideal for most situations, especially like a long in-depth project. Maybe if you're sketching, hand holding is fine, but when you start to use a keyboard and all, definitely it gets unruly and you're not going to be able to use it handheld. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Please let me know what you think about the stream. It's something that I want to try to continue to work on, get better at, and do more often, but for now, still trying to test things out. Another thing I would like to do next year is talk a little bit more about like computer parts, different things like that, building computers, especially from an artist perspective. I don't do much gaming, but I've built several of my workstations, and I'm actually in the process of building a computer for a friend of mine, as well as finishing up a build that I did for another friend like a month and a half ago. And want to make a video on that. I have some stuff that I filmed, and maybe I'm going to continue to film different things for this upcoming build, but maybe I don't know if I could do a full live stream on building a computer. That would be a little bit difficult, I think, at the moment, but maybe one day down the line that'd be pretty cool. But in general, I'd really like to increase the amount of videos I do on computing and computers, different parts, and maybe recommendations or how I would approach something, because I think it's really important to know the tools that we use as digital artists. Things like the iPad and other tablets, they just can't be upgraded by a user, and your options are limited. But when it comes to maybe video editing or working on a computer like this, where I'm using an iPad as a digitizer, but I'm running the software on a computer, it could be very important to know the tools, as well as like what's necessary for your kind of work, what could increase some performance or allow you to be more creative. And once you kind of get started building and have some experience with that, it's a lot easier to know what you need, and you don't have to rely on what kind of companies are trying to sell to you, especially in the art world. I think there's a lot of or products made for quote-unquote artists. A lot of it could be upsell-y stuff that you don't necessarily need, especially because there's so many kinds of digital art, and they're so varied, and what you need is different for each kind of medium or each kind of discipline. Yeah, thank you so much for that input. I do have one that I'm working on. I kind of filmed it. I had like I had the build done for my friend, and so I kind of without a script just recorded some things, and it turned out pretty nice. But I needed to add on to that to really give it a full like story to make it a proper video. And it was more of a gaming build, and this build coming up as well as a gaming build. So as far as like specific art uh, related components, there's not much in there, but there was like there was a card. Oh, you can't see. Shoot, sorry. Let me adjust. Uh, oh, well, sorry about that. I spent this whole time drawing and no one was watching. And I'm sorry about that top down camera too. I'm using Epoch Cam for the iPad or for iOS, I guess, and I just can't manage to get two cameras running at the same time on OBS right now. Sorry, hopefully that's better now. I was totally drawing and no one was watching. But yeah, there was one video card that came out recently, an Elsa 1650. It's a one slot card that came with a free product key for Clip Studio Paint, which was kind of an interesting thing in general. I recorded a video on that. I don't think it's very good, and I did it on my iPad. I just recorded it on the iPad to see if I could get nice video on the iPad, and I don't like it too much. If everyone's interested in it, maybe I'll release that, but I just thought it was an interesting card related to art, whereas all the other cards I've been using are AMD cards for my friends that want a game, which aren't necessarily the best for like Photoshop and Premiere and all that. Also, let me work on it over here too. But yeah, in general, since I do work with cameras and I work with computers a lot, it's something that I want to add to the channel. Of course, I love drawing. It's the thing I've been doing for the longest time. Ever since I was a kid, I was drawing all the time, especially digitally. I got started drawing on paper and even used like Copics and other Prisma markers, stuff like that. But as soon as I kind of really took an interest in drawing, I started digitally and have a ton of different things I want to talk about. It's just not enough time. Yeah, so this app that I'm using to mirror is called Easy Canvas, and I have a few videos on that. I tend to use this one because it's so responsive. It's very like bare bones, like even you don't get touch gestures like undo, redo, or zoom in or zoom out. But when you have a plugged in connection, it's very good, very responsive, and the image is relatively clear. I think it's hard to see with this current setup. The camera's probably not even working up there, but it's good enough to get an idea of what you're drawing, especially on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I think on the smaller models, you wouldn't even be able to tell that there's some degradation. On this larger model, on the larger screen, you can see a little bit of kind of, it's like fuzzy pixels. It's not as clear. Maybe if you tweak the settings, you could change it a bit. The other one I do tend to use is Duet Display, just because you can get a secondary monitor, which is really good for video editing or photo editing. For drawing, it doesn't make too much of a difference. I guess for streaming, it could help to have two different things on, like your stream and maybe YouTube or other things on your main monitor and then drawing on the secondary monitor. But easy canvas, just it always feels good, and you also get kind of a few shortcuts, and these are customizable as well, and different aspects, like you have pressure right in the app, so you don't have to change pressure on your desktop. You could change the pressure right in the app. And I've also been using Project Blue, which is AstroPad's Windows, like it's still in beta, or they're still testing it, but AstroPad, which has been a long time app to allow you to mirror your iPad to your Mac, now has options for Windows, and that has been pretty good for the most part, but I've had some errors with it, so I'm just using my go-to app for now for a quick stream. In the past, I've tried to stream even like once or twice in the last few weeks, and every time I go to do it, there's always some issue with the camera or with the mirroring software, so I just want to do something easy today and actually be able to stream. I don't use too many 3D assets. It's really not something I delve into too much. I've messed around with A5 350 DPI canvas, but I'm sure if you get into larger projects and really complex 3D models, it might struggle. But as far as I've used, it hasn't been too bad. Oh, I'm glad you liked that video. It's one of my more successful ones, and it's one that I made on a whim, kind of like really quickly, but it's been very successful. I'm very happy about that. Yeah, the top-down webcam, I don't know, whenever I try to use OBS with two cameras, it always like bugs out. One of them ends up stopping, and I guess I'm trying to use the face cam this time instead of the overhead, but slowly but surely I'll try to get things in order. Oh, the face cam, now the face cam's not working, huh? Jeez. I guess that's what happens when you're just trying to do something really quick, you know? Let me see if I could get it back up and running. If not, maybe I'll just switch over to my Paint Tool Sai canvas, big on the screen as the only thing, and that might be the best decision for today. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's better. Yep. So hopefully things are slightly back to normal. Another thing that's kind of tough about always trying to like improve a setup here is technology things in Japan are so expensive, so much more expensive than in the States, that it's quite a struggle just to get new camera equipment or computer equipment. Even today, I went to go get some parts with my friends for his build, and I mean, graphics cards are expensive everywhere, but here it's just kind of insane. So getting different like streaming equipment or capture cards so much cheaper in the States, and I feel like kind of a lot of different places in the world other than the States, tech gets pretty expensive. And I feel like I default to try to do this pose a lot. So if anyone has any like suggestions or anything that they'd like to see, anything they want to learn about, please feel free to comment, and I'd love to try to work on that, help someone out, or just draw something for fun. So if there's any requests, please let me know. Or if you have any questions, drawing related or not, I'd love to chat and just kind of have a relaxing time as I slowly try to improve my stream quality with experience. I think that's probably the best way to do it, is just keep on trying things out, testing them, and actually putting them to use. Right now I'm using the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, the 5th generation, so it's the M1 chip, and it's connected to my main desktop with just a USB-C cable. Then I'm running Easy Canvas, which is a very light mirroring software that allows you to still maintain pen pressure. And then on my computer I'm running Tool Sai 2, which is like the developer beta of Tool Sai, and it's a Windows exclusive drawing app, so this is kind of the only way to get it running on iPad. But you could do the same thing with, say, Photoshop or Krita. Any exclusive creative software should be able to work because you're running it on your main computer and just mirroring it to your iPad. So the iPad's not taking care of any of the processing or anything. It's just kind of a secondary screen, or in this case, it's the same screen. And you can take advantage of the Apple Pencil and other iPad functions. And sometimes with these mirroring apps, you do occasionally experience some issues, like on Project Blue, which is AstroPad's version. I was having just a black screen. It was connecting, and I could tell that it was like connected to my computer, and there should have been something on the iPad screen, but there just wasn't anything. Easy Canvas hasn't really given me too much trouble, except on the iPad Mini. On the iPad Mini 6, it appears to be vertical. Like if my computer is displaying something horizontal on my main monitor, for whatever reason on the Mini 6, it's vertical, so it's very difficult to use, and I keep on meaning to email the developers with a screenshot of that, but it's just some kind of software issue with that. Probably with an update it could be taken care of. And Duet Display was also giving me some issues, but it's either your USB-C port or your USB-C cable, or your USB cable, whether it's Lightning or USB-C or USB-A, or the port that you're plugging it into, or it could be something on this app side and might need an update. It's I don't see too much performance increase. I mean, I think the level of, if you see it from like Procreate, you get more layers with kind of newer, better, bigger iPad models, but in actual practice in Clip Studio Paint, I was using the 9.7-inch iPad Pro for many years, and only barely would touch that like limit. I would barely feel the limit on a 4 size canvas with 350 dpi and like 100 layers. At that point, when I went to go transform like a folder with all my layers, maybe I would feel the software get heavy. I never really experienced too many crashes, so an older model like that was enough for me, and the newer models just keep on getting better, and I don't really see much benefit. Even with the iPad Mini 6 and the Mini 5, I've been using them for the same kind of tasks, and it's very difficult to tell the difference. If you could do a blindfold test on all of them, I think it would be difficult for me to really tell you as far as Clip Studio Paint and my workflow. Other people's workflows might be different. As someone was asking earlier, with the 3D, that could take a hit on an older model, and it's something I should try out on the newer models. Yeah, I believe in the newest iPad OS, they opened up a little bit more memory to be able to be used by apps. It's something that developers have to implement, but I think it could allow for some more interesting, more desktop level apps, and sometimes that takes time. On Clip Studio Paint, so far, my use case hasn't been affected too much, but I'm sure if you went to go try to do like larger canvases with higher DPI, something like that, it could be, or like a comic project with many, many pages. But really, I think that the iPad has been very good for a long time, and more RAM isn't necessarily going to make it a better device. As you increase the amount of available RAM or the specs, or whether it's the processor or other components, the apps are still the same apps. So until there's apps that will be able to take advantage of that, and I think Clip Studio Paint could definitely take advantage of it if you want to open up a huge canvas and mess around with that. Yeah. And like if you want to use a lot of layers in Procreate, now I know that this M1 iPad Pro gets a ton of layers with pretty much any canvas size, but it's still limited. The largest canvas size is still limited, and not many people work on that. But if you want to do something that's really large for print or something, then you're going to struggle with that, I think. But for average use cases, I think for web or small print, there hasn't been really any limits for me for a long time. And like even the video editing, I don't do too much video editing on the iPad, but I assume that within a reasonable like an iPad Pro from this year, last year, a few years ago, they're going to probably perform relatively similar. Like if you do something like the Mini 5 versus the M1 iPad Pro, then you're going to have a difference, I'm sure, but hmm. But even I think 4 gigs of RAM, that sounds similar to what the iPad Mini has. And I've opened up a few 3D assets in Clip Studio Paint, and it would move slow. Like if you went to go move something or transform something, I guess it would take some time, but I never had any crashes. I haven't done anything over like 20 pages in Clip Studio Paint, so it's hard to say. But yeah, I've kind of felt the same way about the upgrade to the M1, that I was really hoping you could run some kind of Mac OS equivalent. I think it seemed like Apple was maybe hinting at that, and it just goes to show you that you shouldn't buy into something until it's a proven concept. Um, but still, I think I feel very comfortable using this 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It's worked for everything that I've wanted to do, and I'm sure it could do a lot more if you were doing other kinds of like 3D or um, sculpting or something like that. And no, you don't feel any difference. I mean, I think these devices are so well optimized for the apps that are available on them that it's going to be hard to break them. Of course, there are different things that push to the limits could cause apps to crash, but I don't have too many crashes on creative software. Very, very rare for me to have a crash, and the apps keep on getting better, like as far as optimization and features, and still the performance has been very good. The problem being that you don't always have access to desktop software. But that's where you can use a mirroring app like this if you want to use desktop Photoshop on your Mac or on your PC. You could still hook up your iPad and use the great Apple Pencil. But yeah, it's always hard for me to talk about kind of performance when it comes to new generations of iPads, because they've worked so well for me for so long. And I put a lot of, like, I guess I changed my workflow to use these devices because I felt so comfortable with them so long ago, that the improvements I see are more in like how the Files app became so much more viable, and then USB-C with the Files app made backup and file transfer so much easier, and the Apple Pencil 2, I guess, sticking to the side with the magnets and stuff like that. The screen on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is pretty nice. It's not like, I think I said it in my review or something, that if you lined up this one and the previous model and you were just like watching a video on YouTube or doing something casual, I don't think you could tell the difference. I have hooked it up to my main computer for video editing, and I think it's a very color accurate monitor, at least much better than the cheaper monitor that I have. So I use it for some color correction stuff. But in general, it's kind of, they've gotten so good that until there's a big paradigm shift as far as like what the OS can do, what kinds of apps are available, I think you've hit a limit with like how good it can be. And again, if you talk to someone that does 3D or maybe video editing or something, they would say something different. But as far as my uses, yeah, just like Jin is saying that, or even one of the other things that I don't always mention, but Apple really gets you with the fact that all their iPads are named the same thing, like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, whether it's like the first or second or third to fifth generation, are all just the iPad Pro 12.9. So it can be a little bit confusing with that. And if you walk into an Apple store, the only option you have is the newest model, uh, you know, brand new at whatever price it's available for. But if you have one already and you feel comfortable with it, you shouldn't really feel the need to upgrade, because the difference I think is so slight that until there's a bigger paradigm shift with the way we interact with it, you're probably okay for a long time. Or you can use Apple's refurbished section on their website if you can drill down to that, because it's not always easy to find and it might not be available in every country, but I always recommend using that as well, because you could get a better deal on something that, you know, the 2018 iPad Pro and 2021 iPad Pro are probably similar enough that if you want to save some money, the 2018 is more than viable. But if you're having trouble with the 2017, you know, you might want to look into a slightly newer model. I don't know if the processor, whatever chip was in the 2017, might be a little bit lacking. That Jose Fernandez, yeah, what? Can you tell me what 2017 model you have? Is it a Pro model or iPad Air or something? Yeah, USB-C is a big change, I think. If you have been using a Lightning-based model for a long time, it's a really comfortable change. And as far as my use case, the second generation Apple Pencil has not been something. You have the Pro from 2017. Then yeah, maybe the processor just between 2017 and 2018 got enough of a bump that everyone else is feeling a little bit more comfortable with that. But I guess, you know, I'd look into it and see what the differences are as far as RAM and other specs, because I've been using the 9.7-inch Pro for a long time and it's been pretty comfortable. I haven't used it since I got the M1 iPad Pro, but the charging and the magnetic, especially on the Mini 6, what I really like about, I have the Mini 6 over here and I'm using it, but having this connected to the Mini 6 with the like smart cover makes it super portable compared to the Mini 5 that had the loose pencil and had to be charged with the bottom of it, and also I think they're very comfortable upgrades, USB-C and the second generation Apple Pencil. As far as the actual like performance of the first gen and second gen Apple Pencils, I honestly can't tell the difference. I've used both like side by side in the case of the Mini and with the Pros, and it just I don't know, I can't tell much of a difference whether it's pen pressure or sensitivity, number of levels. It's just a little bit more convenient and you don't have to charge at the bottom of the device or anything. Also, going between two different devices has been a lot easier now that I have the Mini 6 and the M1 iPad Pro that charge off of or that have the pencil charger right on the device. Swapping between them is super quick. Whereas before, if you had to plug it into the bottom, I was doing that with the Mini 5 and the 9.7-inch Pro, and it could be a little bit of a pain to always have to like plug it in to switch between the devices. But I'd say even, you know, if you can fit the 2021 in your budget with different sales coming up, it might be a good time to buy it. And if not, you can maybe wait and see what the next generation of like iPad Air style device is going to be, if there's any kind of bigger changes coming to it, or if Apple's just going to continue on with the path that they're on. You never know until they announce something. Yeah, it's just really hard to recommend newer iPads, because they've hit a limit as far as the things that you could do with them, in my opinion and my use case. But they're still great devices, and it's nice and shiny and works for a lot of other things as well. Like I watch a ton of movies on this M1 iPad Pro and they look great. But again, I think if you lined up the 2018 and 2021 iPad Pros, you'd be very it'd be very difficult to spot the difference, I think. Yeah, I think especially with M1 not leading to any kind of desktop crossover, 2018, 2021, kind of very similar experience for all but the most power users probably. And even then, I'm sure, you can open up a ton of apps on both of them at the same time, and they run even on the iPad Mini, even on the iPad Mini 5. Apps don't close too much in the background. They keep really fresh, and I guess the RAM, and very easily accessible. They don't close or whatever the state that they have to be completely refreshed like they're opening new. I don't know how to feel about M1 being in this iPad but not having access to like Premiere or Final Cut or desktop Photoshop or anything like that when it runs so well on a Mac. And then you have the new Mac Pros, the MacBook Pros that look so good, and these chips are really amazing and ahead of some of the other manufacturers, but it would be so nice to have it in this kind of form factor. Because I know that you could run desktop Photoshop on this M1 iPad. Like, there's no question that you couldn't do it other than the OS and the limitations that are implemented from that. I do think it would be cramped. Like, I don't know if anyone's tried to run Photoshop or Sai or any kind of programs on old like Windows 8 tablets. It was, even if you had a powerful enough tablet, which most of them probably weren't, just the UI was difficult to navigate. And there are those kinds of issues for trying to run desktop software on a mobile type device. But I think there's workarounds. Like maybe they could do something where if you have a keyboard plugged in, I think Windows 8 or 8.1 had that kind of thing where in tablet mode it would be like a limited UI, and then if you plugged it into a keyboard or like a docking station, then you would get the full UI. I think that's a totally workable solution for an iPad, because on the go you would want something easier to interface with, and then when you sit down at a cafe or if you have your keyboard out on the train or bus or something, you want to be able to work on something much more heavy and kind of more professional workflow type keyboard shortcuts and touch commands and stuff like that. But I remember those like Windows 8.1, Windows 8 tablets, and I tried so desperately to get this kind of stuff to run on there, and it was just not, even if you could get Paint Tool Sai to run, it was just not a fun experience. You could not do anything close to this. But I think actually one thing that I've been using a lot lately, kind of in line with all of this, is on a previous stream, I was using the GPD WinMax 2021, and I've been editing video on this, and it's not like super powerful, but the fact that you can run actual desktop software on this like tiny little computer is fantastic. And you get these, even you can interface with it in a different way than an iPad because you have those joysticks and stuff like that. So for certain types of things, like digital art on here is not or digital art in the sense of drawing and sketching is difficult because it won't accept a pen and you need some other tool to draw. But for video editing, photo editing, those things that don't necessarily need a stylus, it's been a lot of fun to use. And I wish I could get that experience on this iPad, Oh, wow. Yeah, Jose, I had a similar experience. I went from the Cintiq Companion 1 to the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, and then after that, I've just been iPad, and haven't used any other technology, any other like digitizer, but using. I mean, I still love Wacom stuff. There's something about using the original Tool Sai on the Wacom Cintiq Companion that I love so much and have so many good memories of. It's not the most ideal to use now. It's not that portable, but still, it's such a great drawing feeling. Yeah, those old trying to use any kind of drawing software on Windows 8, Windows 8.1 was just a terrible experience. And Tool Sai is not available on the App Store. What I'm using is a mirroring software called Easy Canvas, and I have a few videos on Easy Canvas. There's also software called, or apps called Duet Display, and uh, now I'm blanking on it. Astropad, that will allow you to also run desktop software on, like, or not run desktop software, but you can mirror your iPad, or you can mirror your desktop to your iPad, so it acts like a secondary screen, or it mirrors your screen, and you can take advantage of the Apple Pencil and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think Photoshop and Illustrator, you could run them on the iPad. I don't see why not. Photoshop and Illustrator are not like heavy duty. I mean, they're heavy duty in the sense that compared to most iPad apps, but you know, you should be able to open it and sketch and draw and edit photos. I mean, it doesn't take that much. I think even on the older chips could have handled it. Yeah, Wacom's pens. Something about even more than the pen for me, it was like the feeling of the tip on the screen and everything about it just felt so right. And I had used the 13 HD as well as the Cintiq Companion 1 for so many years, and it's such a professional device and it feels so good, but it's not portable at all. I used to carry around a wireless keyboard and a mouse and that thing and the power brick, and now you just carry around this iPad, or you bring some small device and you get like 95% of the way there. And for me, it's worth it. I switched over all my workflow. I switched to Clip Studio Paint instead of Tool Sai, and yeah, I miss it sometimes, and I like to do these streams because of it. But for the most part, from a practicality sense, then it's hard to go back. Yeah, I mean, they're really interesting devices. It's hard to say. Like the Cintiq Companion 2 that has the SD card slot was a big deal for me. I never picked it up, or I think they have the SD card slot, and then you could plug it into your computer and use it as a drawing tablet. Was something really intriguing, but it just didn't seem worth it to me when I started to use iPads. And I had the Cintiq Companion and the 13 HD, so I had basically two of the same things just to do what the second generation could do on its own. But I think, Jose, you would be interested in this GPD. I think you would find this very interesting. That if you want to do more powerful stuff on the go, you can split up. You can take a laptop or this mini laptop or mini computer with you and plug it into your iPad, and that might be able to help you kind of extend the life of your iPad for now. That if you have the 2017 iPad Pro and you're feeling like it's struggling a little bit in your more intense tasks, if you can bring with you a laptop and plug it in and run a mirroring software, you might be able to get another year or so out of it. And at that point, maybe there's some new technology, maybe not, but right now it's hard to say what's the best thing to do, as they all start to blend together in a way as performance kind of tops out for these higher end iPads. And you could use like your current iPad to do some sketching and then easily transfer that over, whether it's cloud service, or I mean with a lightning, if The 2017 model is Lightning. That's a little bit more difficult to easily transfer, but you can still work out some kind of solution. Yeah, I mean, even there's so many new Windows-based little like gaming machines that, since they run Windows, open like OS, and you could do a ton of different stuff with it. Run your favorite desktop software, and they have USB-C ports, so you could totally plug it into one of these things. The one thing I would say about everything other than GPD devices is they tend not to have keyboards, and if they do have keyboards, they're more for like a texting, kind of like an old school slide up, flip up phone. Whereas the GPD, what I really like about it since the beginning, since the first one that I got with the P2 Max, was it has an integrated keyboard. Unfortunately, the P2 Max, the keyboard just was non-standard and wasn't the best. The layout was not to my liking. It's so hard to like change your muscle memory. But the Win Max has a much more standard layout, so I can bring this and my iPad mini, and that's all I need, and I can do so much different creative work. Again, it's not as powerful as my main desktop, but for doing something on the go that fits in like, a fanny pack almost, it's pretty amazing. But I think if if you like to do gaming, or if you find the Steam Deck more appealing for other reasons, um, you could take a Bluetooth keyboard with you and it works just as well. It's just one more device that I like to keep things simple and kind of as minimalist as I can be. But if you bring a wireless keyboard or a wireless mouse or something, then it will work just the same. And then, those kinds of things get me really excited now for what we can do on the go, that years ago, this was something that just you could try and try and try, and I don't think even people that spent a ton of money could really do it, like video editing and drawing really portably. You could take the Cintiq Companion on the train with you if you wanted to, but it was not a fun experience. Yeah, I mean, Sidecar, I still keep around a MacBook just in case I need to test something out for the channel, or for any new technology. And sometimes it's good for AirDrop and different things like that. But Sidecar also works fantastic if you have a Mac, and those, that kind of cross compatibility. The Apple ecosystem obviously lets them do different things, but there's similar kind of options available for Windows as well. Another person on a subscriber of the channel told me about this function in Windows that lets you like mirror um, a Windows computer to a Windows computer, so you could take your like Surface device and use it like a tablet, just like this. And it's something that not too many people talk about, surprisingly, because it's such a cool function. Yeah, and I don't know about the Companion 2, but the Companion 1 got super hot if you were trying to do just about anything. And it would get hot like right where you're holding it. Those function buttons, they were nice to have those tactile like shortcuts, but since I am so used to a keyboard, it was hard for me to adjust to that, and I would just try to bring around a keyboard, and the whole thing weighed so much more than a laptop, and it was a cool concept. I'd like to move it around the house and the office, but trying to like move it outside of there and use it on the go was really, really difficult. But I did manage to do some of my favorite pieces with that when I could go to a cafe and sit down for like 3 hours or something, and I was plugged into the wall power. Then I could do it. On its own, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours, maybe tops, if you're actually working on it off of the battery. and the performance probably took a hit as well, and the fans would spin up and be really loud. So, we've come a long way being able to use iPads that are fanless and don't really get hot. Sometimes they get a little bit hot here and there depending on what you're running, but for the most part, they run quiet, they run cooler, and the performance is way better than the Cintiq Companion from several years ago. Let me see, is the stream still running well? Let me know if there's any issues. But maybe just the top down camera went down, but yeah, I've heard about some of those Procreate keyboards, and actually tried to reach out to one of the manufacturers to see if I could get my hands on one. I think the thing, my qualms with the those kind of dedicated Procreate keyboards is we should be able to have keyboard customization in Procreate, that those kind of little like number pad almost looking things for Procreate, they can't be changed. Procreate doesn't allow you to change keyboard shortcuts, so you're stuck with whatever Procreate developers decide to use, and then whatever those manufacturers of the keyboard decide to use, so you can't really like adjust it to your workflow. It would be really, really nice if you could take just a number pad or something and bind those keys to different brushes, different functions in Procreate. But that being said, it's still something that I want to try to use, just because it seems like a good way to make Procreate a little bit more productive on the iPad. Yeah, I was really, really kind of frustrated with the fact that I had the Companion 1 when the Companion 2 seemed like it was more of a, what would you say? Like the Cintiq Companion 1 was like the concept, and then the Companion 2 was the proof of concept. Yeah, I think it just depends on how much time you want to put into it. I guess that if you can, you would have to do some kind of programming right onto that number pad, so that the keys would, you would assign whatever kind of function you want to the key that you want, and that might be a better approach. But I don't know really much about reassigning those keys on a like USB device, and it would be a cool project to do though when I have some time. But the easiest thing and the nicest thing would be if Procreate would allow you to rebind those keys right in the app, and that would mean you could plug in just about any keyboard or that little controller that I don't have with me, but the one that I use a lot on stream, or the one that I talk a lot about in my videos, that little like Joy-Con looking controller. You could just use that with Bluetooth and reassign those keys and make Procreate a lot kind of more mobile. I mean, it's mobile friendly, but you could do a little bit more kind of intense work on the go, I think. But I think it would be nice to be able to use all kinds of different keyboards, or like those little like Razer and other companies make those kind of additional USB keyboards that have not quite a mouse, but another thing that you could add like a lot of shortcuts on, and kind of like a scroll wheel or other things like that. And if you could plug those into an iPad, that would be also excellent, just with USB-C or USB-A to USB-C, and have access to like 12 buttons and a scroll wheel or something like that. It would be great. For a living, I do mostly photo and video production here in Japan, just freelance, kind of whatever comes in, helping people out. I don't work for a company at the moment, but I've been super busy. Haven't been able to put out YouTube videos because I've been doing actual like work, I guess. And I do the occasional drawing as well. Sometimes I do some drawing work. And sometimes I build computers for people too, so I do all kinds of different things. But the main thing that I do is photo and video work. And it's something that yeah, I mean, the other thing that has been, I think, difficult with even if you got desktop grade software and all on the iPad, the fact that you only have one USB-C port is going to make things very, very difficult. You're going to need some kind of hub with you all the time that might require like separate power or something. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be a good situation if you're running a desktop OS and trying to interact with files and other like USB-C devices and mouse and keyboard and all that. But adding an extra port, getting back the headphone jack, and different things like that could definitely make it a more pro device. Thank you so much. I really try to put a lot of time and effort into the videos because it's something that I enjoy doing, but you know, I felt that there was something lacking, I guess, whenever I was watching art videos and tech videos and stuff like that. I wasn't seeing that high of a level of production, I guess, and I wanted to try to contribute something different. I really like watching like The Verge and their videos, and unfortunately I don't have as much time and like money to put into my videos, but slowly as the channel grows, I think the video quality will get better and I can dedicate more time to it. As is, I tend to rush through them. And even, you know, sometimes the work that I do, I can't like talk about it too much, I guess, like behind the scenes type stuff for YouTube, but I did something really, really cool lately, and I'm going to ask if I'll be able to talk about it. I took a little bit of footage, like a vlog style footage, and I would love to be able to release that with some commentary. I'd also like to get some more like drawing work or character design or design, like any kind of design, but it's hard to find good jobs with that, and it's not as consistent, and it's hard to develop those relationships with people to constantly give you drawing work. It's not easy. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the channels that is often in my like main feed or in the YouTube studio, people that watch their channel watch mine, and I think it's not as big of a community as like other art forms or other types of niches on YouTube, but within that niche, I feel like I could make a difference and do something different, and I'm doing my best to try to kind of see that through. I really appreciate that, and I started, I think, also with different little gadgets that I use that help my workflow. But there's only so many of those, or iPads. There's only like one or two that are. I mean, I guess there's several that are released each year. But if you're an independent person, not getting iPads from different places, from Apple or retailers, then investing in them on your own can be very difficult just to make videos about them. So I really only try to get the thing that I'm actually going to use in my daily life, in my workflow. And there's a limit to the things that you can do there. So I have to try to come up with different supplementary type videos, and sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. And that could be difficult on its own if you put in a lot of time and they don't do well. But I think streaming is really something that's going to help me out a lot. It'll help me kind of be more confident in my videos and go off script and maybe do things faster offhand, but also it'll let me interact with people, answer questions, come up with ideas with the viewers, and also gives me a good excuse to draw because I don't always have the time to do that. Yeah, I still use that Bluetooth controller all the time. It is one of the best investments I've ever made. I mean, it was like $6 or so on Amazon. You might have to buy it with like some cheap VR like phone headset thing, but if you can find one of those, it helped my workflow on the iPad so much. When you sit down with it and you bind, you can do like undo, redo. I have brush, like lining brush, sketch brush, airbrush, and eraser, then increase brush size, decrease brush size, and different things like that. Swapping between the color palettes, all those really essential functions that you use the most. When you bind them to that controller, you can blaze through something really, really quick. At least that's on like Clip Studio Paint and Art Studio Pro. You can rebind the controllers. On Procreate, the commands don't really match up to anything on Procreate at the moment, I don't think. But that thing is just it changed the way that I work on iPads. At first, when I got the iPad, I was using just a Bluetooth keyboard, and it was still a good experience on like Clip Studio Paint. But once I got that, because it acts like a keyboard, it's just like a Bluetooth controller that whenever you press a button, it acts like a key, so like T or X or W or something like that. And you just go into Clip Studio Paint or Art Studio Pro, rebind those letters to the function or the tool that you want, and you're off to the races. I have an Instagram account. My work account that I don't use that often is Multimedia Works, and I have a skip in, the same thing as here on Instagram, that I use even less. It's something, hopefully next year I can use it a bit more, but I'm not a huge social media person. In fact, for many years I was just drawing on my own and never really posted them anywhere. Oh, I really appreciate that. That really means a lot because, no, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to work on these videos all the time, and, taking time out of my day, not just to kind of make a small contribution, maybe as a blog post or on a Reddit thread or something, but putting time into the production and making the videos, and to hear things like that, it really means a lot. So I appreciate that. And, I think I've only been doing it for about 2 years. The channel's been up for about 3, but my active time has been probably 1.5 years or something. I've had different periods since I started that I've had to take a break for different reasons, whether it's work or family related, or with COVID and other things. So it hasn't been as like consistent as I would want it to be, and I found it very difficult lately to balance actual work and YouTube and other things like that. But hopefully, as the channel grows, I'll be able to put more time and effort into it and like share more things, come up with more interesting concepts that, like I was saying before, that finding gadgets like that little controller, there's a few of them out there, but you can only do so many of those videos. You can only do so many iPad videos, so I have to try to branch out and find different things. I really appreciate everyone's nice comments, and it means a lot to me, and it really helps me keep on going, because it can be very difficult at times to still find the desire to continue these projects, I guess. And I think early next year, hopefully I'll start to, I guess, have the channel be monetized finally, and maybe from there it'll give me some motivation to put out more work and put more back into the channel and all. And I think the thing that I hear a lot of people say is always word of mouth is the best, so if you share my channel with someone, I would really appreciate that too. And I think a big thing too is that I don't do much on Instagram or any other platform. I just use YouTube for the most part. I don't know, I guess I'm someone that's like thorough, and I like to really cover all my bases when I talk about something, and I don't like to be quick. I don't like to just throw out an idea, so I don't fit into the general like categories that do well, I guess, on the internet now. But I think there's room for all kinds of people and all kinds of different projects and kind of ways to do things. Because really, I mean, I've tried a few times to do kind of gimmicky videos that might do well, and it just, I don't have a good time with it. I can't bring myself to do them as much, and because I also really enjoy watching YouTube, and there are certain types of videos that I like, and I want to try to create quality stuff so that people find it either informative, or I don't know how entertaining it could be. I like watching review videos, but I don't think everyone likes watching review videos. But just making something that has some value and could be entertaining, and then maybe with these streams, do something that's a little bit more lighthearted and easy to make, entertaining, informative, all of that. What I really have to do, I think, is come up with a list of poses or something because I always tend to do the same thing, drawing in the same way on stream and all. I mean, hopefully if I can get together a nice schedule to stream on the same day, weekly or bi-week or twice a month. I don't know if that's bi-weekly, but next year that would be a good goal, I think, to set. And to get this second camera working, other things like that. Make it a little bit more professional, slowly but surely. And even the interesting thing, I've mentioned it a few times about the GPD, but this thing has four USB-C four USB ports and an HDMI port and a LAN port. So I want to take this thing out one day if I do like a gallery or some kind of event, live stream from this, and that would be a really cool thing to do as well. I know that there's other ways to do it, but it's something that seems like a unique aspect on how to use this kind of gaming device that could be used for more creative tasks. But I truly appreciate everyone leaving such nice comments and watching my videos and all that. Feel free to always reach out if you have any questions, concerns. I'm sure you've commented before on different videos, but I always reply as soon as I can, and I'm always happy to talk about tech and try to further the community or further improve things, because I remember the days when I was trying to work on, when I was trying to run Paint Tool Sai or Photoshop on this like tiny Asus Windows 8 tablet thing. I don't even remember. Tabmate is like Huawei, I think, but what was it? I'm gonna have to look it up. But I would try to run different drawing software in there, and it was a terrible experience. It never worked, and now we have so many different tools, and I want to help get the word out there and get people drawing and drawing on the go when kind of it gets a little bit safer. I'm gonna have to look up that tablet though. It was the Vivo tab. So this was something that I tried so desperately to use as a drawing tablet. Yeah, it was not easy. So things have come a long way and a lot easier to use, a lot better software. And even before that, this is another one that geez, what was it? This one I might have a lot harder time. It was like a Windows XP drawing tablet. Ah, man. It's one that I actually still have, and I've not done too much animation on Clip Studio. I actually did animation on Procreate not too long ago for a job, but Clip Studio, I've done just barely testing it out. It seems like it would work, but I can't tell you too much on how like it would be limited, or if it was too heavy or it ran too hot or anything like that. I don't have too much experience with it. But another thing that I kind of want to do is some like retro reviews on older tech that I tried so desperately to draw on the go or whatever with, and maybe further down the line that would be something fun to do. But in a way, I also kind of don't want to do it because I had such difficulty back then trying to work on it. Jeez, what was that like? Early 2000s. Digital tablet or something. Wow. That was quick. So I tried to use this motion computing. It was like a Windows XP maybe mobile computer that had a pen and had pen pressure, and you could run Tool Sai on it and actually draw something, but it was terrible. It was not a great experience, and I still have that thing, so maybe I'll dig it out one day and do a retro review or something on that. Talk about running hot and other stuff. I mean, that was just impossible to use. Yeah, you can contact me on Instagram. That Multimedia Works is the one that I use more often. And the other one is Skipen, same thing as on YouTube. If you reach out on there, I try to look there every so often. And another goal I think next year could be to set up like a Discord server or something, just to let everyone talk amongst themselves. I think it would be a nice community to get everyone together and they could chat about what their ideas are for drawing or what their kind of setups are and things like that. And then I could chime in, and it might be a good way to kind of make it a nicer community, because there's not always places to talk on YouTube if I'm not doing a stream or something like that. Or even like if I feel like I can dedicate the time to it, doing a Patreon or something where you can have access to, you know, a chat or something, or more kind of consulting type conversations or something like that. But I don't want to start something that I don't feel like I could dedicate enough the right amount of time to. But yeah, feel free to leave me a message, and when I have time I'll go ahead and follow up with you. And there's a long list of people that I need to follow up with that in a way, with COVID and all, I didn't have too much work for a few months there, but now things are kind of back to the way they were to a certain extent. And I think I always just try to pack in too much work because I had that downtime. Oh, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and drop me a message, and I'll take a look at that before I go to bed today. But no, I'd like to also try to actually properly draw something on stream. I still gotta get used to. I think I'm getting a little bit better at talking and looking at the camera and chatting and drawing at the same time, but it would be cool to, if I could find the right day each week to spend like 3 or 4 hours on stream. I think in a month at least I could do one full piece on stream, which would be really cool. Another thing I would really like, this is kind of one thing that maybe is pushing me towards getting a more powerful Mac, but one stream that I tried to do when maybe the Mini 6 came out or before that, I was trying to stream what was on my iPad screen with a face cam, and on Windows that's just difficult to do. You need a capture card to do that, and I don't have one. And I was saying earlier that tech in Japan is just so much more expensive than other places, and right now I just can't get that together. But if I could use a Mac for work and all that, maybe that would be a better option for me. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it, but I would love to be able to get the actual iPad screen onto stream with a face cam or other things, so that I could use like Clip Studio Paint right on the iPad, and I think it would make things a lot easier. I wouldn't have a ton of cables and my main computer on that you could probably hear the fan going and all. But slowly, you know. Yeah, maybe even using that GPD to film some kind of interesting project that I normally wouldn't do would be cool. Or if I get one of the new Mac M1 Pro or whatever, M1 Max, that could also be very good for taking it on the go and streaming something from a cool location or doing a cool project or something like that. I actually filmed an interview with a friend of mine here, a Japanese artist that does acrylic paintings, and the interview was from a few months ago actually, and I'm just still editing it, and because it's in Japanese I gotta do the subtitles and all that, so it's taking a lot more time. But I would like to do more things like that. Maybe it's something possible to do live as well, just to cut down on some of the editing. Because a lot of times I do editing like work for a living, so I'm editing something for work, and then after that I'm editing a project of my own and just editing, and it kind of drives you mad, you know. You gotta get some other, even if it's similar, you know, even if I'm holding the camera or doing some drawing or doing a live stream or something like that, it's close but different enough that I don't feel like I'm doing the same thing days on end. Yeah, I mean the new MacBook Pros look really good. To the point where I feel bad for people that bought older M1 Macs in a way. That the iPad is, it's limited more on the OS side versus the hardware, but the new hardware looks insane. Like the GPD is pretty cool because of the form factor, but power wise and all that, it's hard to beat some of those new Macs for the size to performance. As situations kind of change and uh, it's a little bit easier to go out now that there were quite a few, like, what would you call it? Different ordinances to stay at home or different things where they wanted people to stay at home, but now things are getting a little bit better. And I think from that, filming jobs will also increase. And so having a more portable, powerful Mac could be very beneficial there. But they're pretty expensive. Another thing I like about Easy Canvas is that I feel like it gives you some of the best, if you're using like a sharper brush like this. Other mirroring software doesn't always do a good job of like rendering that, because for shading hair and stuff like that, I really love a nice sharp brush like this. So Easy Canvas kind of gives you a good, accurate system, I guess. The last time I was using the GPD mirroring, even I think I was using Duet Display, but I have to go in and mess with the settings because something wasn't just, it was off. And for sketching, you don't really notice, but once I start to color in that sketch, I could tell that there was some kind of issue going on. And troubleshooting all of that is always a little bit of a pain. Yeah, like Easy Canvas, just the connection is always very reliable, and I feel like kind of the accuracy or the way that it interprets your pen inputs over on the iPad and translates that over to your computer is very well done. And I think it's one of the reasons, like I tried to use AstroPad, but mostly because I'm a Windows user, I had a lot of trouble back when they were only available on, or when they were only available on Macs, I guess. So that was difficult. And then Duet Display could be hit or miss for drawing. I've always really liked it for a second screen. It's hard to say for streaming. Like, if you see here, it's just, you could get pretty complex small details. And then even the, I don't know if you've used Paint Tool Sai, but some of the blending and blurring function is very unique. And you could take advantage of that with Easy Canvas. I'd have to use it side by side. So maybe another day, a good thing to do would be to open up either Paint Tool Sai or Photoshop or something and go through all the mirroring apps one by one on the iPad. One of the good reasons for doing that, like on Windows, would be you could keep the same software, the same settings, the same tools, and just switch the mirroring apps so you get a good idea of kind of the differences. So that maybe would be a nice thing to do for the next stream. And have maybe like a pre-done, like have a blank canvas to do a sketch or to follow up on a sketch, and then something that's ready for coloring or something, so you can kind of get a good idea. That a lot of times, if you're just starting from the beginning, you don't notice certain things until you get to the point where you're coloring or inking or whatever, and the sketch sometimes could take quite a long time. So, but for streaming, it's hard to say. Like Duet Display, since it allows you to have your iPad as a secondary screen, as a second monitor on your main monitor, whether it's your laptop or your desktop, you can keep all your like stream information, your chat, and like OBS or your other streaming software, just to make sure everything's running well. Easy Canvas, it mirrors it completely. You just have whatever you have on your one screen on the iPad. And since I don't have the overhead, you can't really see it that well, but you can expand and like change the size of the window on your iPad, which is nice as well. Maybe that's why it doesn't look as sharp, maybe because I have it slightly zoomed in. That actually makes a lot of sense. But for streaming, it's kind of difficult because now what I have on my main screen is what I have on my iPad. So if I'm trying to switch like different things on the stream or make it look better, change windows or look at chat or something, it will also appear on my iPad. It just mirrors whatever you have on your screen, whatever's open at the moment. So it's kind of difficult, I guess, to recommend for streaming unless you have if you use two monitors, typically, then you could have one monitor that's mirroring and then another monitor to look at your chat or look at your streaming software. But as it is, if you only have one monitor, it could be a little bit tough. And then AstroPad as well, it will take whatever you have on your screen and just mirror it to the iPad. If you have one of their accessories, then you can have it as a secondary screen. But without the accessory, then you're just mirroring whatever you have. But I think that's a good idea to try to tackle next time. Anyways, I think it's getting pretty late here. I'm going to go ahead and call it an end here for this stream, but I really appreciate everyone coming by and chatting, and I really do appreciate all those nice messages that everyone wrote towards the end here. That I've had a lot of different feelings towards making YouTube videos and even drawing over the past this year, I guess. And sometimes it's been difficult to continue. Sometimes I just don't want to draw or anything. But it is one of my like first loves since I was a kid, as a form of artistic expression or just to create something, make something cool. And I spent a lot of years trying to get a certain look, and I always wanted this kind of, I don't know, specific anime style look, and it took me a lot of years to cultivate, and I want to try to spread some of that information as well. So all of that kind of stuff makes me so much more motivated to continue and do streams like this and different videos. So keep on commenting, keep on letting me know how you feel about all this, whether it's good or bad. You know, if you feel like I could do better or change something, I'd also want to hear that feedback as well. So I'm Skipan, and thank you so much for watching.